All right, guys, we are going to go into more depth on this whole instincts, not instincts, things like that. So, really good questions. Guys made some really cool comments, and one of them kind of got me thinking. Okay, he made a comment. The gist of it was, well, man, you kind of use your instincts because you've been fishing for so long. And a lot of guys haven't been, so they don't have as much instincts as you might have. And I totally agree with that. And that's all part of it. And what happens is even in these YouTube videos, there's so many. Like, I could make tip videos, okay, about a tip video here, or how to catch them this way, and I'll get way more views. It's irrelevant though, guys. Like, I could make the best cranking video, right? And you go out there at all the wrong times to go crank, it's never gonna help you. It might give you some confidence maybe, but it's still not gonna help you. And so tip videos, to me, I'll do a couple of them, but there's no instinct in there. There's no real life value of fishing. And so it's learning a bunch of information that may or may not ever help you catch fish, because if you can't apply that out to the real world and out to real fishing, it's worthless information. And there's a ton of worthless information. It doesn't mean that it's not right. It's just worthless. Okay? I could get information for tournament fishing and doing all that stuff, and I've realized I can't, because it's worthless information to me. I can't use their information and go catch fish. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. A lot of times I don't think it's very consistent. And once again, what happened a week ago might not happen today. What happened in the morning time might not happen in the afternoon, and so on, right? And so what happens is your instincts have to take over somewhat. Okay. So now I'm going to say something that I've been telling a lot of people, but I don't really think it makes a lot of sense. But this is the best way. I one time took a guy out there and threw a swim jig, okay? He never caught a fish on a swim jig. Now this is 10, 12, 14 years ago. And I was catching him on a swim jig. And he couldn't catch him. And I didn't catch him that day. I just told him, this is how it's going on. And this is what to do, and all that. Nothing. He'd never get a bite. And it went on like that. And all of a sudden, one day, I think we got out there and we catch some. And it was good, right? And so fast forward a couple more days or whatever, I think he had a tournament. Goes out there, never gets a bite on a swim jig. Like didn't get it. And he was like, man, what happened? I was like, I don't know, man, I went out there. He was like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, well, look, these things that happen, like, I know when to throw a swim jig and kind of when not to. Not all the time, but most of the time. Like, I can look at the conditions, the grass, the trees, the bushes, the water. I can look at all that and go, I need to throw a swim jig. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that came from catching a bunch of fish that way. It's almost the opposite. And this is what I want to explain. Your instincts. Think about all the times you don't catch them, because you don't catch them more than you do catch them. Okay? I've gone out there with a swim jig and thrown a swim jig so much, I can remember all the times I don't catch them on a swim jig. And so I start looking around at why I don't catch them on a swim jig, right? Why today do I not catch them like I did tomorrow? Was it morning time? Was it the way the grass is? Was it clouds? Was it wind? Was it this? Was it time of year? And we can go back years now, 10 years, and I can go back and go, I'm not catching them on a swim jig because I didn't catch them on a swim jig like this 7 years ago when it was like this. It does help me to catch fish. I get that. But the problem with getting information and tip stuff is I show you an area or a place or how to go catch fish. I'm not showing you all the times I don't catch them. And those are almost more valuable than the times I do, because there's 10 times I don't catch them and 1 time I do. Well, I need all those 10 times I don't catch them. You need that in your bag, right? Like a golf bag, right? You need that information with you, because if you don't have that information of when you're not catching them, you're rarely going to be able to figure out when you should catch them. I have guys tell me all the time, like, man, it was the perfect conditions. Maybe. Like, and I have learned too that it's hard to force a swim jig. And it's hard to force a crankbait. It's hard to force a lot of things. And usually you can tell real quick whether or not you should be able to do it. It's so easy for guys to get there and get a little information and go out there and catch them 1 time. But it's very hard to figure out how to catch them a bunch of times over a bunch of days. Okay? And once you can start doing that, then you can start figuring that out. Because guys, there's 100 baits out there, and you can throw them in 100 different conditions on 100 different lakes with 100 different water conditions, all this stuff. So you need to be able to pick and choose when those things are right and when those things are wrong. So yes, it does help to have that instincts, that intuition of like, hey, let's go do that. Sometimes it can just be a fish blowing up, right? A fish blowing up, and that'll key you in. Or a random bite over here, and that might key you in. And then once you gather all that, I'll throw this one out there. This was not mine. This was Bradley Hallman's. He always said, man, every knowledge you get is like a grain of sand. Okay? Every time you pick something up, it's like a little grain of sand, right? I learned a little something on a swim jig. Learned something on a thunder cricket. Learned a little something on a crankbait. I learned a little color here, or a size difference here, or a line thing here, and it's grains of sand. And you start filling up a jar with grains of sand. And the guy with the jar that's the fullest usually is the best fisherman, because he has all that knowledge. So yes, all you're really getting by a lot of these YouTube videos of tip videos and all these things is one little grain of sand. But you could go out there on the water and get maybe 15 to 20 grains of sand of, they might not be how you caught a fish, but maybe how you didn't catch a fish. And those grains of sand are just important as the times you do catch a fish. So remember, tip videos, all those things about knowledge, about getting a bite, man, you're gonna miss the times you don't, and you need those guys. So you're right. You do trust your instincts, and a lot of times you just gotta, that guy responded, another guy that said, hey man, I went up shallow and it didn't work. I trusted my instincts. He wasn't wrong, right? And there's gonna be times where you're not wrong and you just don't catch them. That's why I said, hey, you can trust your instincts and still not catch them, right? And you did the right thing. Lakes are big, guys. You got to get around them. You got to hit. There was this past week, there were very small windows of when those fish bit, right? For me, it was like right off the bat in the morning and then late in the day. And there would be 4 or 5 hours where we wouldn't get bit. And I talked to a lot of guys that were like that, right? So you might have gone through the juice and just never got bit because they weren't biting. And you didn't do anything wrong. And so all these things, like I said, I started figuring that out in that tournament on day 1 around 1 o'clock when one blew up. One blew up, I threw up there, got bit, and then I ran with it. Well, the next day, I never got bit up until about 12 or 1 again. I rarely even tried it. I tried to go do something else to get bit. I tried to trust my instincts. I didn't catch anything again for 4 or 5 hours. Then 12 or 1 o'clock rolled around. I started kind of doing those things, waiting for them to turn on. I caught like 6 or 7, right? With one big one. So yes, trust your instincts, but you have to get those instincts out there on the water. And like I said, you've got to get the negative. Like, don't embrace the negative, guys. The negative's not bad, okay? All right, it's got hot all of a sudden. All right, I'm going back to fishing because today, once again, I'm just out here and I'm catching them. I'm gonna have another video on this because this has been an interesting day. It's been pretty, are they busting right there? Man, it's been pretty cool. I almost have 2 videos in one because of how the day started and then how it's progressed. And like I said, I started today, and the start of the video I have for another one was just gonna go out there, and I'm gonna go try to like not dial in anything, not doing, just go fishing and see what kind of comes up. And I've caught fish, let's see, in places I've never had a bite before, and I've fished this lake forever. So I've got a couple more hours. I'm gonna go try to get, I'm enjoying trying to catch fish in places I never have before. I mean, out in the middle of, I don't even know. I don't know. It's not fun. I can tell you that. It is fun, but it's not fun, because this is the hard part. This is the stuff where I think you really, really learn. I used to do this a lot when I was younger, man. Just get on out there. I'm getting better at it though. It's getting easier for me to do. So, all right, let's roll. Let's get back on out there, guys. See y'all.